escuchar. Con ustedes, el hombre más conocido en el bajo mundo de Tacoma, el más buscado en 17 estados y 22 cortes, el ajonjolí de todos los moles, el hombre detrás del volante, the middle. ¡Ay, papi! Así que prepárense para una hora informativa, pero también divertida, de el show de The Juan Hour Show. Con ustedes, Juan José Chávez.
Muy buenas noches, aquí nos encontramos otra vez en la hora de Juan Hour. Para los que están escuchando por la primera vez, este programa debe de ser en Spanglish y tengo mucha suerte ahora en la noche, vamos a poder hablar en las dos lenguas. Welcome to tonight. It's a beautiful day here. You're listening to the Juan Hour Show. It's the Spanglish Community Radio, and I'm excited to be here tonight. I'm particularly very excited because, I don't know, when you do something in life and you're like, I'm going to do that. I called it. I'm doing something that I called it. What I'm about to do is introduce some neighbors, right? Mm-hmm. We're on the 5th floor of a building, and these guys are on the 3rd floor. And when we moved here, I had the desire to introduce these people to the community, and I feel it's a very sacred and important thing that they do. But most important, I think it's going to be, for anybody who's watching the show tonight, it's going to be great information to know and have. Also, what I want to talk about a little bit tonight is more about the community aspect of what's going to happen tonight. But before we get on to the show, antes de que comenzamos más con el programa de ahora en la noche, voy a que se introducen my guests here, y vamos a movernos pronto porque tienen mucha información que creo que les va a dar mucha ayuda en el futuro. What I'm going to do is, I normally, we have my co-hosts. Hi, how you doing? Hi. And we introduce them, but tonight they are willing to introduce themselves. And I know it's not very professional of me, but this is what happens. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to my guests, but I want to say that this is all about Tacoma Pro Bono. Say it with me in Espanol. Tacomaprobono. Tacomaprobono. Okay. Anyways, how do you introduce yourselves? You guys go ahead and let's go ahead with you. What's your name?
Hi everybody. My name is Carly Roberts, and I am the executive director of Tacoma Pro Bono. Mm-hmm. I am an attorney. I was a prosecutor out of law school for I think 4.5 years. And had a great experience with the office, but felt like I was just seeing a lot of people who, it felt very, and in many ways, on many of the cases, not all of them, but very like bullet over, or Band-Aid over a bullet hole type situation. And I really wanted to move to work where I felt like I was solving problems, not just locking people up for making a mistake. Yeah. And so came to Tacoma Pro Bono in 2016. I've worked as a staff attorney, and now I'm in management. And we're very grateful to be here with our neighbors tonight. Thank you so much for having us. We're really excited to connect with the community, and just tell people about our services and see what we can learn and what we can do to help. So thank you for having us.
No problem. We're welcome. As Jose, the 1 hour show is here for you guys. So mucho gusto.
Yeah. Hola, yo me llamo Erika Molina y soy abogada para Tacoma Pro Bono. Yo soy originalmente de Nueva York. Estuve trabajando con abogados de divorcio casi 20 años.
Wow, 20 años.
Y decidí mudarme hace 2 años para Washington para saber algo nuevo. Y gracias. Hi, I'm Erica Molina. I'm a staff attorney at Tacoma Pro Bono. I'm originally from New York, and I recently moved from New York to Tacoma about 1.5 years ago. And I previously used to work for a divorce law firm for almost 20 years. And now I'm here, ready to help people here in Tacoma.
Yeah, I'm excited. Thank you. How you doing tonight, Melissa?
I'm all right.
Yeah, Melissa is my co-host for those who don't know, who's watching the show for the first time, and I'm very excited for Melissa. You know, she just did something that I've always wanted to do in life. She ran for office, and granted, we didn't win it this time, but we're going to do it next time. But I'm so proud of her. I just wanted to say it on the air that people dream about doing things, and they want to try it, but they don't have the guts. And you did, and I'm just very happy that you did. And I don't know how to say it, but I'm proud.
Thanks.
Yeah. So let's continue with our program. Tacoma Pro Bono. Can you guys tell me a little bit about the history of the Tacoma Pro Bono?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So the Tacoma Pierce County Bar Association has been around, I think since the 1800s.
1800s, yeah.
And part of that, it's just a group of attorneys in Pierce County. The mission, part of the mission has always been to provide free legal services to the community. We've been part of that, kind of officially established for a little over 20 years, maybe a little bit longer. And so we are here in the community. Our mission is to provide civil legal aid, so help with legal cases to low-income residents of the county. So that's kind of the the elevator.
That was kind of the elevator.
Yeah.
And we were talking downstairs, and I kind of got a little emotional because being Hispanic in this city of Tacoma, you get to meet a lot of people who are going through legal issues. And they, they're at the courts, or they're facing charges that may not feel like it's their fault. Or, in other words, necessarily the system, it's on them, or they created a problem for themselves they don't understand. And of course, everybody right away wants to go get a lawyer. But as soon as you look at your lawyer, you look at your wallet, you're like, you're going to jail.
Right.
So I say that as a joke because, like I said, I've also faced myself some problems, and I just cannot believe how do I say, it's confusing. That's the best word I could say. The system, how hard it is to navigate through the forms, and you need and you have to have the right lawyer at the right time, or you got to have the right amount of services. You have to. In other words, it's just not a. I always call it like a two-step. I'm a little bit of a country guy. It's like a two-step, and if you don't start on the right foot, you can end up in a lot of more problems. So, for the fact that people out there who are watching the show, and you have a little bit of a financial problem, or maybe a lawyer is not something in your budget, Tacoma Pro Bono to me has provided some services that I thought I could never do, and and I'm happy that you guys are doing this for the community.
So speaking of the right lawyer at the right time, we all understand that there are different. So if you're in an accident, then that's one lawyer, right? You can't just go to any lawyer out there. So all of the services that you guys provide, do you provide for accidents, and do you provide for divorce, and do you provide for criminal
civil matters?
Everything?
Yes, that's a really good question. Like you were saying, that it is so confusing. It's really hard to. I'm a native English speaker. I went to law school. When I switched from criminal to civil law, I still had no idea what was going on, and it was really hard for me to figure out. I had mentors. It took me a couple years, so I can completely empathize with the challenges of navigating the system. But so back to your question. So we do most things on the civil side, so no criminal cases. We have a community partner who does immigration. We do not do immigration. Most of our work is eviction prevention and the family law side of things. So domestic violence protection orders, parenting plans, divorces, those two categories. And then I have a list of all the other clinics that we do, because it's hard to keep track of them off the top of my mind, but everything from juvenile record sealing, legal financial obligations, general law. We have a Spanish-speaking clinic, which is the attorney speaks Spanish, the volunteer attorney. Estates, probate, wills, adult guardianship, and bankruptcy are just some examples of the things that we do have clinics for. So we have a whole program, a whole team. We're close to 40 staff people at this point. So most of the, a big chunk of those people are attorneys. And that's kind of one section of our organization. And then the clinics, that long list I just read, most of those, it's volunteer attorneys. So we have both ways of helping people, which is great.
And then, so do you just provide services for people who live in Tacoma, or do you provide services for people who live in Pierce County? Like, how far out do you accept people?
Yeah, so that's another great question. So we provide services for anybody who lives in Pierce County or who has their legal issue in Pierce County. So even if somebody lives in King County, but their divorce filing is in Pierce County.
That's very good to know.
Yeah. And to qualify, other than that, to qualify for our services, a client has to be within 200% or below the poverty level, which is low. I think for a family of 4, it's about $55,000 a year. So those are the qualifications.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And talking about the right lawyer, you mentioned divorce lawyer. So is that something at the department that you are? ¿Estás en ese departamento de la divorcio?
No estoy en ese departamento. Yo hacía eso en Nueva York.
¿En Nueva York?
Y yo no era abogada en Nueva York. Yo era, manejaba el negocio.
El negocio.
Sí.
Entonces, ¿qué haces aquí en Comprobono? ¿Qué es el departamento?
Entonces, lo que hago yo aquí es... soy abogada para la sección que se llama HELP. HELP stands for
Homelessness, Eviction, Legal Prevention.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're really an angel.
She is. Yes.
Really
The work that they're doing is
preventing people from living in the streets.
Truly.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
so,
that's very touching.
I have a large caseload, but I am so blessed to have able to help people in a way that I have been wanting to do this since I was a kid.
Wow.
And it was a really long journey for me to get here, and I'm finally here, and I'm just so happy.
We had an award, kind of a story, or award for people who they do grassroots, and they say, you're the leader we've been waiting for. You're the lawyer we've been waiting for as a community.
Thank you.
And I just kind of, that's amazing. So, but yeah, I mean, that's the number one issue with the city, believe it or not. I mean, it's like homeless is on the top of every lip of all these politicians here in this area.
Especially with the clients that are facing those types of issues, they want to be heard. That's often what they want. They want someone to actually listen and understand in a way that you could finish their sentence. So I could always anticipate what they're going to say and make them feel better. And once we cross that line of comfort, then they begin to open up to me.
Do the work.
And then tell me exactly what's going on in a very personal level. And it's much easier to help them when I approach my cases that way.
Yeah. I've always wondered, because like I said, we are facing a lot of homeless. What kind of legal tools would you have to work like a renter who's like, hey, I'm going to charge wherever I want in this city? Everybody's racing, why not?
So the unfortunate problem is that there's no cap for rental increases. The only law that really helps is the requirement of the 60-day notice for the rental increases. But unfortunately, there's no regulation in terms of how much you can raise the rent. So I've had clients come in that their rent is going up $500 a month.
Oh my God! Yeah, I have a family member right now who's, I cannot believe that's even legal.
I don't understand how that's legal. Because they're faced with 60 days of, now they're changing their entire life, and they have to figure it all out in 60 days.
Yes, and it's a big time pressure. Yeah. Which kind of brings me a good question with 60 days of time issue. So let's say I want to go use your service. What kind of intake or what tools do we need?
So the best way to get in touch with us is our online intake. So our website can translate it into a number of different languages, and Spanish being one of those, if that would be helpful for anybody. And complete the online intake that goes into our system, and then our reception team, our intake team, will take those cases and either direct them to a staff attorney if the staff attorney has capacity, or if there's capacity on the volunteer side, connect with the clinic. The availability is just a wide range. So sometimes it's a week, sometimes it's a little bit longer. There are certain programs where the client will have a guaranteed attorney, and that is, so we have two parts of our housing justice project. Erica is in the pre-eviction, on the pre-eviction team, which is so incredibly valuable because everything that she's doing and her colleagues are doing is to prevent the case from ever getting filed.
Yes.
And so, dealing with everything, just anything that affects housing instability, which is just a long list of
It's better
issues.
to keep them home.
Exactly.
It's like get them through the process.
I love working smarter, not harder. It's like,
exactly.
let's keep somebody out of the court system from the beginning. And it keeps families in their homes. Just the laundry list of reasons why that makes so much sense. If we get to somebody too late or it doesn't work and the eviction gets filed, which means filed in the court or that scary notice on somebody's door, that client can go to our Right to Counsel program, which guarantees indigent tenants a right to an attorney in an eviction proceeding. So the message with that is, please come to an eviction notice, please come to your hearing, because you will be appointed an attorney if you qualify. And
And
that
when you
person
say qualify, like an income level thing?
Right, yeah, so
Versus
qualify-
like not paying the rent? Or
qualify just income, yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
all right, just want to make sure.
Yep, so we have people waiting on the hearings, whether they're virtually or in the courtroom, to meet with you and schedule you with an attorney. It's a free attorney, so please come to your eviction hearings, even though it's terrifying.
It's terrifying,
And we will be there to help. And so, so it's with that program, there is, hopefully you get right in the door with that program, which is great.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, what is the website?
It's just Tacomaprobono.org. And there's a big red button that says Start Intake on the website. There's a couple other options. You could call or walk in. Walk-in hours vary, usually a couple hours in the afternoon.
Yes.
But those
I noticed the hours are kind of limited.
they are limited.
We should talk about that.
Yes. It gets super busy, and then we have, just our intake staff can only do so much, unfortunately. So that's kind of a big, long answer to your question.
Yeah. And again, I not knowing the process. So let's say somebody does get the notice, right? That they go and they have to go to the court. Is there a way to stop it right away, or is there a way to just say, try these things, see if it works with your landlord? I don't want to get all the way to the nitty. I said this show is not about that, but I feel that I think the worst thing that could happen to a human, like you said, the 60-day notice. You have to change your whole life in 60 days.
Yeah.
What would be the process like? If they go to the court, is the judge the one that's going to decide to stop it, or is it up to the landlord to say, hey, okay, you're trying this, forget it, or is there anything?
So
Erica's the expert.
Yeah,
So I'm going to defer to her.
And I want her to see it. Quiero que ella hable también.
So it depends on what kind of notice you have in the
okay.
beginning. So it could be a 14-day pay or vacate notice when you haven't been paying rent, and you can actually get that. The landlord can actually write one up the day after the rent was due. There's a rule where we have 5 days to pay the rent. So it's from the 1st to the 5th is the grace period. And then the 6th and on, they can put up a 14-day notice, even though it's just 1 month. And barely a month because it's been 5 days. And so once you get the 14-day note, pay or vacate, it has to have 3 essential elements, which is the 14-day notice, where it tells the tenant exactly how many months they have are in arrears, if any penalties, utilities, or anything that...
So basically it has to be clear why.
Yes.
Okay.
And then there's also a repayment plan, which the repayment plan is, it has to include 1/3 of your monthly rent, and that's the additional that you pay on top of your rent, and it ranges, and then it ranges from the amount of time. So if it's
basically they're prorating it, right?
Yeah, so it's like $1,000 of rent. You get the 14-day notice. The 14-day notice will have the repayment plan. The repayment plan should be saying, okay, so for the next 3 months, $1,300, because 1/3 of 100, 1,000, and
1,000.
yeah, and that's how the repayment plan is supposed to be set up. And the third element is the ERPP notice, which is the notice for mediation between the landlord and the tenant.
Okay.
And the tenant has a specific amount of days for them to actually file the ERPP. I always recommend my clients to do it online, so like that there's no delay between getting it to the landlord and whether the landlord puts it in. And
now, all these websites you're talking about, is this all with the county, right? Or is it with or is it through you guys, and then does it go to a legal matter? Like, if somebody
this is what would be posted on your door.
On your door. Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. For the dispute resolution, they will have the website, but mostly I direct them where to go.
Where to go? Huh?
And sometimes there's been moments where I've actually sat into the mediation with the landlord and the client, and we sort of try to figure out a way where we can be able to, pay the landlord.
Yeah.
Pay the landlord. Sort of like both parties are coming together to sort of resolve essentially the same problem that they're having, but in a way that they can compromise.
Exactly. Where you have a little bit of mitigation in between. You're not just being pushed and bullied with what they want.
Yes.
And I think that's the biggest problem, is that I noticed that, especially for Tacoma, because it's really changing. Unbelievable amount of landlords who just putting all the pressure on people right now, and I think it'll come back in my mind. It'll come back and bite them later.
So after the 14 days expire, the landlord has the right to file for the eviction if there was no resolution between the tenant and the landlord, and they will then either serve the tenants the summons and complaint, and once they get the summons and complaint, they have to come directly to us. Or if I have a client that suddenly gets a summons and complaint, I transfer them to RTC, the Right to Counsel, I call them our tiny litigation team, because that's kind of what they are.
Okay.
Yeah. We have a strong team. I'm actually really proud of them.
Oh, good. It's good to hear, especially in a pro bono situation,
Yeah,
you don't have a bunch of people learning the law in the middle. They're trying to help you or something. You know what I mean?
Right.
I was momentarily with the RTC team, and they're just really strong. And
Okay.
You'll get your issues solved for sure.
Yeah, we pride ourselves on excellence, and so one of the best. I was speaking one day about how we were expanding our housing justice project in eviction prevention, and I heard one of the defense attorneys, or one of the attorneys, the landlord attorneys, just go, and that was the best compliment, for our team, because I want people to be really irritated when they see us walking into court, and they are, because it's so much harder to evict a tenant who has an attorney.
Exactly.
And that's what we're there for. We're there to stop that from happening, because housing providers are realizing how expensive it is, and and so people are that's why Erica's team is, very valuable as well, as in addition to Right to Counsel, because whereas previously housing providers could just file for an eviction, assume that people would be scared, not come to court, they could just get a default and go ahead. Now, people are trying to avoid the courts and do other things to get people out of their apartments. So or homes or whatever. And so it's we're lucky.
Could there ever
to have
been
those.
like a sort of law for renters, like a cap or something? Could there ever be a? I mean, we've had this discussion before.
Washington State, it's against the Constitution in Washington State to have a rent. What is it called? Rent control. That's what I'm looking for. Sorry.
It's okay.
So that's part of our problem, right? Is it the lawmakers are? That's where they go. The second that you start to say something, it's against the Constitution, you know, and you're just like, but you find the loopholes for every other
amend
thing.
the Constitution. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Amend the Constitution. That's the thing. Is it the people who serve everybody? You know, because we all work together to serve each other. There's not one person in this community that like is a standalone and does all of the things all on their own. So these landlords who are like, I'm going to raise your rent $500 a month, but I know that you're not going to be able to afford that because, you know, I go to the grocery store that you work at or, you know, something like that. They need to really understand that they're pushing out the people that they need themselves in this community. They need to know that. They need to realize that, but most of the time they don't.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and I know I'm preaching to the choir. I totally know that I'm preaching to the choir.
I don't mind. Keep going. It's great.
But it's kind of fun to like sit with people who like feel you, right?
Yeah,
because most of, especially you guys, like you guys go into, just like you said, that you go into a room, people are like, oh God, you know. So like it's every day your job is to like butt up against individuals who have a total different belief system than yours. And so I mean, I fully appreciate who you guys are and the things that you do. I fully
That's why I said
appreciate
at the beginning
that.
of this show, I'm very excited to have you guys here.
Well, thank you.
And it's not
Thank you.
just, you know, because like I said, we believe that we got to help our community, you know. Talking about community, you talk about, we were talking about housing, and you mentioned divorce, and you mentioned civil matters. How about the civil matter? What kind of things that people can, you know, somebody may be facing you know, maybe an assault or something, or what things can you tell us about that pro bono could do for somebody?
Yeah, so we have a family safety project, and we're developing that now. We just got the funding on July 1st, so we're extremely excited about that.
Funding's always good.
If you're the kind of like going through an injury or you know, dealing with a personal injury or civil rights or something like that, there are other like plaintiffs attorney firms that they would be best suited for those types of things. But we can help with parenting plans, domestic violence protection orders. We have a victims of crime attorney, or they're starting they've been with us for a little while. We're just kind of shifting things around as we build this family safety project. But so if you have kind of civil consequences from being a victim of a crime, we like to use the term survivor of a crime, then we can, you know, help with that case as well. But we see the need is about equal on the housing side and the family law side, and we've had one family law attorney and like 16 housing attorneys.
Wow.
So now we're expanding our family law team. I think we're going to have 3 full-time family law attorneys and a paralegal.
You heard it here first at the 1 Hour Show.
Yes, it's really exciting. So we are really looking forward to being able to meet some of that need because it's so high. It's really high.
Yeah, it's really high. I don't know what it is, but this summer seems like there's a lot of civil issues in my mind.
It's
like normally there is, but this year seems like to me, I don't know if the economy or the weather or what, but it's just, I feel like it's very out of hand right now.
Yeah.
But
it's probably because of the COVID, the whole pause.
Yeah.
So everything has built up, and
I think that that's reflected in the, you know, what we're seeing coming through the courts. It's been one of the most violent periods in Pierce County in recent memory, and I don't think that the domestic violence filings have necessarily increased, but the level of violence that the judges are seeing has definitely gone up. So, you know, and it's expensive to get an attorney to deal with a divorce, and people are afraid, and people, very rightfully so, of their abuser or of the judge or whatever. And so that's what we're here to help with.
Well, I mean, divorce papers are intimidating regardless, you know? And so just a simple fact that, you know, you pull it up and then there's like all of these links and you're just like, where do I start and what do I do? And then if you have something that's, you know, kind of not sort of out of the norm, just one little like something, then you have no idea which way to go when it comes to how you just want to release, you know, you just want to like get rid of this one part of your life and go ahead and start someplace else. But all of this paperwork is just fully intimidating to somebody. So especially
if you've been with somebody else for a long time and your life is really meshed. You know, really, you can't just cut it and walk away. I mean, there's a lot of...
Right, but just the thought, you know, of not having the money to be able to hire a lawyer, and then it's like, what is this, like $475 just to file or something like that? That's, you know, and then so on top of that, trying to figure out a lawyer, and it just seems so daunting to people, you know?
Yeah, well, and we were, excuse me, we were speaking earlier about this, but it's, to your point, I can't take credit for this phrase, but I should Google it and figure out who said it so I can give them credit. But
we got homework now.
Yeah,
we got homework.
But the system is working as intended, and by that I mean the legal system was set up by wealthy white people to serve wealthy white people who speak and read English, and if you are not in that group, you are not served by the legal system unless a program like ours, you know, gets funded, because and that's part of what we see is us being the missing link to kind of disrupt that system. We're not trying to fix the system, we're trying to freaking wreck it, you know?
Exactly.
It's not designed it without a pro bono attorney or somebody to just, and it's not even that we're just attorneys, we get to be educators and we get to empower people to understand what their rights are, and to, you know, there are a lot of people who don't realize that they have a legal issue. They don't realize they can fight back against if they have mold growing in their apartment. You know, there's a lot of, and that they can fight that, they can take action against their housing provider. So it's our job, and we're so grateful to be here today, because we learn, we do our best work when we learn from the community. So like I would just invite comments back to us about how we can better connect with people, how we can better bring our educational tools out into the community, because it's not my position as a white attorney to tell anybody what they should do or anything like that. It's my job to listen and then build a program that better reflects what people need. So
the community.
Yes. So my email address is
put it here.
No,
yeah.
I mean, we're going to in the comments we're going to be putting the website, but
it's Carly CARLY at Tacomaprobono.org, and I just invite anybody with ideas or comments to contact me, and I'd be happy to.
No pressure. You like to add your.
Oh yeah.
Yes. In 1 second, let me make sure that
remember,
I typed everything right. Okay.
So Erica at Tacoma Pro Bono.
Yeah.
And it's ERICA. Okay.
And but that doesn't mean you're gonna have to get an email every time. You got to go through the program. You got to sign up. You got to be selected. But yes, I like where you went with this is. You have to grow with the community you represent. Long time ago, I was in a PTA when I had young kids, and somebody said that board does not represent me. You know what I mean? And I think it's the same thing with law, like you're saying. There's laws that will not represent what your culture is or who you are. And to me, this is why I'm happy that you're here in the show, because again, I myself went through some things, and I'm trying to use this service, and I'm excited. So.
Yeah, we've been really focusing on our own staff and doing trainings, and really focusing on building diversity within our program. And we've had been able to welcome so many wonderful staff members who do represent the community so much more than how the program used to be. And so we're excited about that too, because we want people to come into our office and be able to speak Spanish or see somebody who looks like them or has had lived experience that they can connect with and understand culturally. So
and you have a great welcoming staff, because I was really nervous walking in the first time. What is her name? Alondra, if you're watching the show, this is only because of you, right? Alondra was very welcoming. She made me feel relaxed. I had 1,000 questions and I talk too much, so she's like, calm down. This is the process. She even held my hand to walk, and I was telling them earlier that I think I consider myself pretty good with computers, but I was stuck, going through things, and she walked me through it, and I felt like I was being listened to, which that was the most important thing. So Alondra, her job is really to listen, because people, again, tons of questions, like, divorce papers, like one link, so if you're listening, si estás escuchando, I'm going to go a little bit in Spanish. We're supposed to go a little bit in español. Si estás escuchando en español, el programa de Tacoma Pro Bono es programas de licenciados, pero voy a hablar un poquito de lo que acabamos de decir. Si quieres usar este programa, no nomás son licenciados que están esperando, tienes como saber presentar tus problemas. La Tacoma Pro Bono tiene una página de website donde puedes escribir escribir todo lo que te está pasando. Te hacen una cita, ¿verdad? Te hacen una cita. Pero también estamos hablando que hay diferentes departamentos entre el programa. Hay programas para ayudarte si te están tratando de sacar de tu casa, o si también tienes problemas con cosas legales que no entiendes. Pero si sigues viendo el programa, vamos a seguir aquí en inglés. Y si quieres decir algo en español, ella es una licenciada. Me dio mucho gusto que ella habla español, porque también, como estamos hablando, es bueno hablar con alguien que te entienda. Y si alguien nomás habla español, imagínate, si hablas inglés, tienes miedo del sistema, pero imagínate si ni hablas la lengua. Entonces, por eso es muy importante hacer una conexión con alguien que habla español. O no nomás español, cualquier lengua, pero aquí en Tacoma a la gente latina es más, un poquito más que otras razas.
Sí, la mayor parte de todos los clientes que hablan español vienen donde mí. Entonces puedo conversar con ellos y averiguar lo que está sucediendo en sus casos, y tratar de evitar cualquier tipo de evicción. Y claro, si es que ustedes reciben la evicción, tienen el derecho de tener un abogado para estar en la corte y que les representen y todo.
Y mucha gente no sabe eso, que tienen el derecho de tener un abogado. Sí,
tienen el derecho ahora, porque ahora es parte de una regularización para ayudar a la gente, porque es un derecho de tener, en verdad, una casa, es tener techo. Pero sí, yo trato de hablar con la gente de una manera humana,
¿verdad?
Entender qué es exactamente lo que le están pasando. Una vez que estamos cruzando ese momento de conocimiento y ahora me están empezando a confiar, entonces ahí podemos empezar con el caso y tratar de averiguar cómo solucionar
Como dije en inglés, hacer la tarea que se tiene que hacer. Para preventar que no tengas casa. Y por eso lo voy a hacer también en inglés. Lo dije en inglés, que yo tengo mucho orgullo que ellas están aquí. Este programa para mí yo creo que la gente buena ayuda a la gente buena. Entonces para mí es un programa que es muy necesitado en esta ciudad. Entonces yo me doy gusto de presentar este programa. Y vamos a poner las links en el programa de Juan Hour Show. Si tienes preguntas, ya tienen, I'm assuming the website in Spanish too. También si no hablas inglés, en las páginas de web están en español para si tienes algunas preguntas. Pero vamos a seguir. We're going to continue with English a little bit, and we're getting close to that time. And so we talked civil, Is there any other kind of help that you guys do that people may want to seek as a pro bono group? I mean, because like I said, I was telling you, I have like a nephew of mine who's just got literally robbed like by a company. So can you guys work with somebody who may be in a situation that needs representation against because it's one thing one civil with one against another person or a landlord, but how about a corporation or a business?
We do have a clinic, a general law clinic.
Okay.
It's one of our most popular, so the wait times are often really quite long for that clinic. And if any attorneys are listening, we're always looking for new volunteers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good. You should be in radio.
Gotta get our plug in there. But yeah, so that would be something that we could either connect, if depending on the type of case, connect the person with the clinic, or send them to an attorney referral service if we think it would be better suited for a different type of firm.
You keep mentioning clinics. What other type of clinics do you have? Like, what is it? Just the families or?
So another type of clinic that we have, so we have adult guardianship, estates, wills, most civil issues other than immigration and no criminal law, no major personal injury type stuff, but any sorts of issues that people are bankruptcy. One that we're particularly proud of is our legal financial obligation clinic.
Okay.
That if anybody has an old criminal conviction and they're still getting notices that they owe a bunch of fines, we are able to, in most cases, not all cases, but we have partnerships with the prosecutors and the courts, and we can have someone come to our office, fill out a piece of paper, and get that signed and get those waived. So I think we've, at least $250,000 in the last year or so of fines waived. So
that's a good
yeah,
system.
It's been a very, very wonderful program, and it makes a huge impact because then people can expunge their criminal records, which means get rid of the crime on their record, which means you can get into housing, which means you can get a job, which means you can get a promotion at your job. So it's another one of those Erica's team works on those. It's another one of those.
Do you have a clinic just for sponging, by the way?
We do, yes.
Okay.
And your team, I think Erica's team is working on setting those up. So I think the goal is September sometime to have those going. Yeah. So
yeah, sure. We have so my manager is out on vacation, but she has a lot of plans to expand our program.
The expunging program. So when you say a clinic, is like, do you spend a day there, or an hour, or how does that work?
So they're usually it's usually about a 2-hour window. Okay. So we'll say come between 12 p.m. and 2 p.m. and people will get served at some point during that 2-hour window. So people don't have 12 p.m., 12:30, 1:30.
It's not a preset appointment, but it's a general.
It's a general, and so then people arrive. You'll get checked in. You'll meet with an attorney for 30 minutes, and then you're welcome back as much as you need, as many times as you need. So it's not like if you come to get service once, that's your only shot. You can come back and continue to get service.
So how many languages do staff speak? Is there somebody who speaks for the Khmer community if they come in, or if there's somebody who speaks something, we have, because Tacoma, the Pierce County, we have very diverse, right? And we have for instance, there's a lot of Cambodian elders who don't speak any English at all. So that's why I was asking, how many different languages do the people you guys work
support?
How many different languages does Tacoma Pro Bono support, right?
Well, we have, if we don't have somebody who speaks the language of a client, we do have contracts with interpreter services, so we can get somebody on the phone. Or we can sometimes make appointments and have people come in person. So we are, we'll do everything we can to facilitate that appointment and conversation.
And you mentioned it earlier too, but I think it's good to repeat it again. But donations. Let's say somebody who falls in love with your program and says, "Hey, I have $1 million sitting right here."
We'll take it. We'd be okay with that.
Okay. So, you guys have some sort of philanthropy or anybody that work with you guys that say, "Hey."
Yeah, myself or our
okay.
Director of Communications, Lori Davenport, would be great people to get in touch with. We are funded by grants and donations. And we always, we have a long list of projects of things we can't afford to do but would really love to do that would help expand our service.
Do you have any fundraisers that you want to promote annually? Things
We
like a dinner?
do have it. We have Tacomaprobono Night on October 5th, which is a celebration of the pro bono community in Pierce County. It's at the Tacoma Art Museum.
Okay.
So that's a fundraiser / celebration. And then, we're just always open, always welcoming
So October
donations.
5th, people. October 5th, if you're listening, October 5th is going to be a big night. Well, I'm excited. Well, you know what? It's over.
All right.
We got a couple minutes left, and usually what I do with my guests, I give them a minute or so if they want to talk about anything. Your experience or how you feel. Do you want to start with you?
I'll turn it over to Erica.
Okay,
I feel like I've talked enough.
Leave us with some good words here for whatever you feel like about the program or what we said.
So I feel like I, along with my teammates, approach every client. We never want to turn them away. So we kind of always dedicate ourselves to being able to find solutions for everyone, regardless of how complicated it is. I cannot abandon a case without making sure that I've done everything I can and I've been able to supply them with all the resources, because I collect resources. I research a lot, and I'm finding more and more resources for Tacomians. And it's just, these are like hidden treasures. So, and I'm just hoping, and I'm very thankful for these smaller organizations that are helping out with us.
Well, I'm so glad you do, because like I said, there's a lot of people in need, and I cannot believe that you guys' organization even exists. So I really appreciate it. How about you, Carly? Anything that you want to leave us with, or any quotes or anything that...
I'm just grateful to be here. Thank you for having us.
Thank you
for being here tonight with for having us here. We just welcome feedback. We want to learn how we can better serve the community. So that's what I see my role as, just to learn. So,
and also if any organizations wants to reach out to us and become a form of liaison, because I feel like that's one of the most important things.
Strongest part is
being able to find partnerships with even
with trusted organizations,
like HUD or...
One of the things that visualized in my head, because when I used to work for nonprofits, was a safety net. We're like a safety net. Somebody's falling, you're being kicked out of your house, you're losing your job, you're going through a divorce. The community's there to catch you with these kind of programs. And I feel you guys are a big part of that safety net here in Tacoma. Thank you.
I was looking at, I was going to pick up my mail, and I met someone who is going to start working for HUD on Wednesday.
There you go. Nice.
And she said, "Don't worry, we'll work together." So I'm like, yes.
Melissa, anything? We gotta,
Just thank you guys for coming and explaining the services that you provide, because I know that there's also people who are just intimidated with just even trying to go out and try to figure it out, right? Because you can call a billion people and say, I'm going through this thing, and everybody's like, that's not what I do. Click, you know what I mean? That kind of thing. So just understanding that regardless of whether or not you're doing something that you guys help with, right, that you'll just help them understand where to go next. I think that is a big weight off of people's shoulders. And when you're talking about kind of partnering with people, my brain, because you said that you work with people who are 200% of the poverty line, right? And so my brain automatically went to being able to talk to maybe talk at like a parenting night at a Head Start and ECAP program. Because those are the exact they're at the income level. Thank you. Right. They're totally at the income level that you guys are searching for, right?
Right.
So, yeah.
Writing that down.
Well, my last words to this program tonight comes from the heart. I hear your technicalities, I hear your numbers, your intakes, but I see passion and I see love. Without love for your community, this job cannot be done. So I want to thank you for opening up yourselves to allow yourselves to show that this is not a job. You cannot do this as a job. It has to come from your soul and from your heart. So I feel like I met my great neighbors that have great heart and have great soul. And I think I'm going to leave it with that tonight. Tacoma Pro Bono to me is an essential part of the community.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Think twice, 'cause it's a